Yes.
Yes, it worked. Bom dia.
Olá. Hi.
Hola.
Okay. Well, welcome to Usina Talks. This is a little bit of a weird environment for you. I think you're more usual to LinkedIn. Yes?
Of course, yes, LinkedIn or any other one. But it's nice to be on Instagram too here. I really enjoy this very much. Thank you for your invitation.
Yes. Thank you for coming. Thank you for accepting the invite. Well, welcome to this new season, everyone. And we would like to introduce our first guest, Gijs van Wulfen. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but
You say
I'm
it's
learning.
quite right. So in Dutch, it's an original Dutch name. It's called Gijs van Wulfen. We have this strange right in our names. Yes.
Gijs, like this.
Gijs. Yes, you're doing great.
Okay. So please, would you like to do an introduction? Introduce yourself. Who are you? What to our followers and our viewers?
Yeah, so bom dia, everybody. I'm nice to be your guest. I love to be in Brazil. I've been in Brazil a couple of times performing on big stages and on conferences, mostly in Porto Alegre, which I really, really enjoyed because they got these really nice Italian wines and these good, mostly German factories. I really enjoyed being in Brazil. My name is Gijs van Wulfen. You might know me from LinkedIn. The last 5 years I've been traveling all over the world, doing speeches on the books I wrote and on the knowledge I share. What I like to do is I like to make you a better innovator. That's what I like to do. And a lot of people can be a great innovator. And that's my mission, to make everybody in the world a better innovator. And the reason is simple, because the world is getting more complex and complex and complex. And that's why I like to help everybody to do so. Originally, I am a business economist with a bit of long hair, but then I worked into marketing, then I became a posture consultant with talking in the boardroom, but then nothing changes. So when I was in my beginning 40s, I became independent, and what I wanted to do is to let old elephants dance again. Because that was in the beginning of the 2000s, that was when startups really disrupted markets. Boom, there's a startup and suddenly everybody moved. And I tried to help your enemy defend itself. Because those big elephants, they didn't know where to defend. They were slow and long and bureaucratic and didn't want to take a lot of risks. And I said, come on, guys, let's the old elephant dance again. And this is how I tried to make all those big incumbents in all those markets you try to attack. I try to make them innovative myself. That's my background. I wrote a lot of books, but we're going to talk about that. And I love to share my knowledge with you.
Yes. And how did you become a top influencer on LinkedIn? How did that start?
Well, to be quite honest, it starts with an email you get. It was in the 2013. LinkedIn started with influencers, and I was one of the first 150. So I was in this list with Barack Obama, Richard Branson, Ban Ki-moon, the president of the United Nations, and yeah. Why did I get that email? I don't know. It was an email. They said, guys, we're doing a new project, and we're starting with articles, writing articles on LinkedIn, because in the beginning only influencers could write articles, and the rest could take a subscription on those articles, could follow you. Right now everybody knows what it is. Then it wasn't. It was new. It's almost 10 years ago, and yeah. So I think I don't know why they picked me. That's my honest answer. And I signed the NDA, and 10 days later, I was in a list with all those famous people. And 15 days later, we started to write articles. And this is how I got more than over 300,000 followers on LinkedIn. And this is so important also for your new ideas, everybody who's listening. Because I already had a book. I already had written 2 books, and this opened, and I just wrote my first book in English, and this opened the world. So through LinkedIn and through sharing of knowledge, I don't sell my knowledge, I share it, you know. So I shared my articles, and I shared my vision, and I shared my tips, and I'm really the how man. Everybody knows we need to innovate. Everybody writes books about it. Strategic, important, digital transformation, strategic, blah, 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 bullshit, because these are all empty words. But what do I do? What do I do now different? Which steps do I take? Which people to involve? The methodology, the fourth, which is spelled F-O-R-T-H, so it's not fourth like you mentioned on your Instagram. It's F-O-R-T-H, yes. Fourth, moving along. And this is how the methodology is spread all over the world, by sharing. And I think sharing is now, it gets more common, but 10 years ago, sharing was not common at all. When there was no business model, nobody shared, right? So that's a good, I think that's also a very good quality of social media, to be able to share with anybody. And not only the rich, but also the poor. And also the poor in Brazil. You have rich people in Brazil, but also poor people in Brazil. I've seen myself. Yourself, and also a way to develop yourself. So I've also written books about how to do kind of a personal innovation steps. So why a LinkedIn influencer? I don't know, but it brought me lots of good things.
Yes. And can you talk about, you're also a speaker, you speak all over the world. What is your inspiration for that? Why makes you go out and say, I want to speak to in front of 1,000 people about inspiration? What gives you that motivation?
The motivation is the mission and the passion you have. Every one of us has passion for something, and when you are really passionate, and then you don't consider it as a job, you consider it as a mission. I think also a lot of startups, when you do it for the money, you won't succeed. Startups are successful when it's all about passion. When it starts with your passion and it's more with work, it's kind of something which drives you. It's a battery which is never empty. It fills itself from your heart and your soul. And in my quest for spreading, I first spread it via books, and then via social media, and then people read the book and they saw me and they say, oh, this is a guy who is a nice storyteller. Then they invite me, and then I do it also live. Now, the nice thing about a live event is that you get a response from people, right? That's what I don't like about social media. When I tell a joke, I can't hear you laughing, right? I can only hear you, which is nice. But when you can get a real big audience of 1,000, or I spoke for 3,000 people in Turkey, or 2,500 people in Japan, it's so nice to have the interaction. And because, you know, it's all about both entertainment, you know, but also about giving new professional insights. And you have to find a real balance. If I am here a dull speaker reading from a piece of paper, everybody will quit after 10 to 15 minutes. But only, I think, when you speak with your heart and you are prepared to give and to share essential information and you tell nice stories, then it's wonderful to be on stage.
Yes. And can you talk about a little bit more about the fourth innovation method? How did you create it? You talked a little bit before, but I think it cut out a huge part. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I first talk about the problem. Big companies have innovation funnels. You know, those funnels go like this, right? And a lot of ideas get in, and almost tiputa, as we say in Greece, gets out. On average, out of all 4 official projects, only 1 gets out on the market. And that one has a chance of 25% to be successful. What a wasted energy, right? A lot of people in startup got pretty frustrated about working in a big corporate because everybody tried to stop you instead of to encourage you and to give you the means. No, it's also no, and we have no money and we have no time and there are only limited people. So why should we work on this? You know, so I started to innovate out of frustration, and I made this methodology out of frustration. Why? To motivate innovators to go through the funnel. But the biggest challenge for innovators and also for you at startups is to get management buy-in or to get partner buy-in, right? Both financial partners, but you're often creating a new value chain. And when you create a new value chain, how can you get the commitment and the buy-in from partners? That's a big question. Because in innovation, feasibility is only 8% of the reason why innovation fails. It are the soft human factors which create the hard results. So that's why, from frustration, I created this methodology. And when I was a little child, which is a long time ago, I read traveler books at night. We didn't have smartphone yet, right? This was in the 60s and the 70s. And with a torch, I read all those books about mountain climbers, how they conquered Mount Everest. Or I saw the first moon landing. Wow, see Armstrong walk on the moon. Or I read all the stories about Columbus or about Magellanus travel all around the world as the first one. And then when I had to come up with a metaphor, I could have made a dull McKinsey model, but no, I saw it as a journey. But there's a big difference between a journey and an expedition. Because fourth is an expedition. Because in the journey itself is the goal. But in innovation, you must have a target or a focus or a goal. Let's climb Mount Everest, and it only succeeds when you're at the top. So that's why I gave it, it's a journey with 5 islands. So go to the website and perhaps you can share it now on screen. FORTH.
Okay.
Yeah, type FORTH. FORTH dash innovation.com. That's the website, and there you see the map, and you can download the map in 13 languages. Also in Brazilian, because there's also a Brazilian map, a Brazilian version of it. And because I train people in Brazil, and people from Brazil are using it. FORTH.innovation.com. And fourth is abbreviation of full steam ahead. Observe and learn, raise ideas, test ideas, homecoming. So it's not fourth dot, it's fourth dash. Yes, Angela, you did it right. Yes.
Okay.
Innovation.com. Perfect. Thank you for that. And the first island is full steam ahead. You must give direction also to your startup. Where you want to go. Everywhere means you go nowhere. So you have to focus and you have to put on what are my goals. Also goals in terms of financials. How much money do we need to bring back? Do we need to get a 1 million idea or a 10 million idea? How much EBITDA or EBIT or profit should we make? 10% or 30%? When do we have to launch? In 1 year or in 3 years? So you make a very concrete assignment. And then you go observe and learn. Because everybody is so focused. You need to learn first. Hello world. Here I am again. You have to get the blinders off again. And then you observe and learn. You ask questions again. When you work in finance, you ask the question, why do people need money? That's an interesting question. But when you're working in the bank, you don't ask this question anymore, right? So you need to open your mind first. And when do you change your behavior? In observe and learn, it's so important to know what is the problem you try to solve, or jobs to be done, or customer frictions involved. Because everybody has everything. If you want to introduce something new, why should I change to your solution? Because you solve a problem. So innovation is not about getting solutions. Innovation is about finding the right problem to solve. Finding a problem which is relevant for me. In observe and learn, you find the problem. That's the O. Then the R of raise ideas. During observe and learn, oh, you get all kinds of ideas. Now, may I ask you a personal question?
Sure.
At which moments of the day or night you get your best ideas? What are you doing then?
Mostly when I'm relaxed, usually at night.
Yes, at the night. Because our brain is fooling us. Our brain is our conscious, and our gut feel is our subconscious. And for every problem we have, the brain works 10,000 times as slow as our subconscious. That's why when you relax, and then ping, 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 all the ideas come. The ideas you already have, but you don't allow them because we need to think and we are wise. Wisdom doesn't come from your brain. We have another brain in our belly, which is much more important, right? Because there it combines our passion with our thoughts, our feelings, and the knowledge we have in our brain, right? So that's why you need incubation time, as we call it in science, right? Incubation. Between full steam ahead, observe and learn, you get ideas. And then on raise ideas, you get thousands of ideas. In fourth, we get 1,000, 2,000 ideas. Because you postpone your judgment, open-minded, and everything is a good idea. And then we focus. We don't only brainstorm, but we choose the best ideas. Now, this is not a kite, not a diamond. Everybody says it's a diamond. It's not. Because choosing ideas is much more difficult. So it needs twice as time as to generate ideas. So don't believe the double diamond or whatever. It's a kite. The ideas are there, and then you have to select the top ideas. And that's the most challenging thing. Because there you have to do that together and really understand the ideas before you can choose the best ones. And then, after the R, we are now F, full steam ahead, observe and learn, raise idea, is the T of test ideas. Now, of course, a lot of you do lean startup, and it's all about testing, 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 making prototypes, fake it before you make it, right? And with these fakes,
yes.
You test your assumptions, and you pivot, and you test, and you pivot, and you test, and you pivot, and you test, and you pivot, and that's great. That's what startup thinking has meant to the world the last 20 years. To be much more practical. And don't believe what people say. Because you don't say what you do, and you don't do what you don't say. That's our humans, right? We are so inconsequent as ever. So watch their behavior, right? And it's all, so this is really, really, really good. So you have to test and pivot. That's why in fourth, there is test ideas. Now, never, ever, ever, this is such a mistake so many startups make. They work on one idea. That sucks. Never work on one idea. What is the chance that one idea becomes a success? Temporada, almost zero. Of course, you pivot, 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 pivot. When you have pivoted 3 times, come on, man. Do you still believe in it or not? 4 times, 5 times? 1 or 2 times is good, but then you lose belief. And also, you lose momentum, okay? So I believe in pivoting, but I also believe in momentum. And when it takes too long, you don't believe your faith, but your partners do, right? Or the value chain does. Come on. If you can't get it right in 2 or 3 times, is there real value in something? Yeah. So in fourth, we test 15 ideas. Why is that? Everybody, half of your ideas are shit. The problem is you don't know which half. That's the problem, right? So that's why you go to the target group, the consumer, and you test them, right? And then we select the 5 best ones, and then we return with what we call a business case, a new business case, a mini new business case. Of course, and you all know what a business case is. You need it to get acceptance in your company, or to pitch it to investors to get money, or their support to build a new value chain, right? So in fourth,
Yes.
we end up, it's a journey of 3 months in total. It's tuck, tuck, tuck. It's not full time. You can do it half time. Because I like to innovate with people from the work floor, and they have still another job to do, right? So that's what I really like. And yeah, this is what fourth is. It's a free methodology. Everybody can use it. I'll charge you something for the training, but there's no business model. There's no subscription. There's no royalties. And why? Because I like everybody to be a better innovator. And that's, for me, much more worth than the 100 or 200 euros that you would pay me per month. This is fourth. The methodology is being translated now in 9 languages. The book is there also in Spanish. It came out 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It was in Mexico to come out. It's called what's it called in Spanish? Oh my God. It's called the Innovation Expedition in English. It's also in Portuguese there. When you go to downloads on 4-innovation, when you go on download, you see 20 checklists you can download. And you see the maps, 30 maps, also in Brazilian. And it really works. That's why people now implement it all over the world. And why does it work? For 3 reasons. The first thing, which is so interesting also for you as startup owners or startup workers or people with ideas, there is no thing as innovation. Answer for yourself this question. How many people do I need to transform my idea into reality? How many people? 2, 5, and I mean reality, delivering the product or the service you have, right? And servicing it. 10, 100? Why should they work on your idea? Why should they stick out their necks? Why should they spend time on your idea? Ideas are like children. Now, I don't know do you already have children or not?
No, I only have a dog.
You only have a dog. Good. Well, let's take the example of a dog. Do you like your dog?
Yes.
Yes. Do you love your dog?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that's good news. Now, do you have neighbors with dogs? Or neighbors of neighbors with dogs? Or neighbors of neighbors
Yes.
with dogs? Yes, yes. Do you like the dogs of the neighbors?
Not so much.
Not so much. Do you love the dogs of the neighbors?
No.
No. Now, the only difference between your dog and the dog of the neighbors is that your dog is yours, right? And the dog of the neighbors is not yours, right? It is the same with ideas. The only difference between your idea and the idea of Angela is that your idea is yours. And the idea of Angela is Angela's. And you love Angela's idea, but would you give up anything to save your dog? Yes.
Yes.
Would you give up everything you have to save Angela's dog?
Maybe.
No.
I don't
And
know.
that's exactly the difference. And that's why, it gets to you because it's yours. Your DNA is in your idea. Your DNA is in your dog. It's your dog. He responds different to Angela than to you, right? Yes. It's the same with ideas. Now, if you need, how many people do you need from the start of innovation to make it reality? The better it works is when it is our idea. So also as startup, You can think of it alone, but you can't introduce it alone. You can't manage it alone. You can't service it alone. You can't finance it alone. So the more people you connect to creating the idea, the stronger it will be. And the better it works. And this is how you get management buy-in, right? You get management buy-in by creating. Me, but when I love everything I create, that's what people love. So let others create together with you the idea. And that's why I call it renovate. There, it's really strong because people are passionate about it and people fight for your ideas, because a great innovator has to turn no's, because you get a lot of no as innovator. You get a lot of no all the time, right? You get no's of it, and
mostly no's. Yeah.
Our job is as innovators to transform no into yeses. That's what we do. You know for sure you will get a no, and that's not when innovation stops. That's where it begins. Innovation begins at the first no, and our job is not to be offended why they said no, not to understand why they said no. Of course you get a no, but then you have to transform the no into a yeses, and that's where successful innovators are, and that's where passion helps us, because we get tired when we only do it for the money. We get tired. But when we do it for passion, wow. Now you feel my passion. I created this methodology, wow, almost 20 years ago. And now it's all over the world, and I still can talk of it as it is my child. And now it's so many people's children, and I'm so proud of it. And that's what passion does.
Yes. Can we talk about a little bit more about your books or all your bestsellers? What inspired you to write them, so many?
Well, to help people, and I will. Let's see if I can show one of the. I show now. I must. My battery says it's going to. Okay, I must load my battery now. Give me 1 second. I'll show you this.
Okay.
Book. Because the point is that everybody knows me from this book, The Innovation Expedition. This is what makes me famous all over the world. But you know what? This book is much better. It's much better. It's The Innovation Maze. And I got the Management Book of the Year in the Netherlands, where I then still live. And why is it better? I will tell you. Because innovation is, as you all know, is a maze, right? I use another metaphor. Here, this is innovation. This is the maze, right? Oh, how do I get out of it? Oh, and what I did was, when people say, Gijs, when we travel the 4 islands, I already have an idea because I'm a startup. Should I begin on island 3? I said, no, because it was not made for this. Or people with techniques say, hey guys, I'd like to do something with blockchain, but it doesn't fit the model good. I said, you're right. So that's why I wrote this book, The Innovation Maze. Because actually, you know what? It doesn't matter if you start with an idea. It doesn't matter if you start with an urgency or a challenge to survive. It doesn't matter if you start with a technology like blockchain. Or it doesn't matter if you start with a customer friction, a customer problem. Because the way you innovate is exactly the same. You know what the difference is? You do the steps in a different order. So that's why I made, and so this is the maze. And then you can start, here the blue route starts with an idea. This is the startup route. You start with an idea and you go this way through the maze, 10 steps. But if you start with the technology, hey, we have to do something with 3D printing, you go this way. Or if you start with a customer problem, then you go this way through the maze. And if you start with a strategic challenge, the business challenge route, then you go this way. Now, the good news is that this book has now been translated in Japan since last year. They loved my first book so much they did a crowdfunding to translate this book in Japanese. It's a big success. And why is this? Because
hopefully
normally
we can do the same for here, for translating Brazil, for translating Portuguese as well. Please.
Well, if anybody likes to start a crowdfunding for this, you got my support. Because this unites innovators, because this unites the inventor, which is the technology, with the startup owner with the idea, with the businessman with the business challenge, and the marketing men or women with a customer challenge. And this unites them because they recognize it all. And you know, you all look alike, only you think different in a different way. And this book unites that. It's a practical book, also with 10 steps, with a checklist, how to do it. So, yeah. So this book is so much better than this one. But everybody knows me from this one and want me to speak about this one, so that's what you do.
Okay. Is your battery low?
No, yeah, it's low, but
sorry.
it's charging. Now, I like to show you something else, and that's this book. This book. It's called Online Innovation. This is just published. What happened with COVID? Shit, what do we do? Our business ended. Finito. Bam, in 2 weeks my calendar was empty. So we took the fourth methodology and took it online. And we do it with Miro. You got Mural and Miro. You probably work also with it. And we got all the checklists, all the templates, the whole process on Miro. It works like hell. Great. If you would have asked me, Gijs, can we innovate online 3 years ago? I would have said, no way, impossible. Because you really have to work together. And then you get in this flow with a group, in a room, and wow, it really gets us going. Now I know I was so wrong. Because online, we get the same results. So that's when I wrote, together with 4 others, this book on online innovation. So if you like to do it everything online, it's really good also for Brazil because it's a huge country. And then you can just share the good news is with online is that it has 2 things. It works everywhere. All the time you can work on it, right? Which is really good. And this is the coming out of the introverts people. Introverts, you rule online. Why is that? In live meetings, it are always the bosses who dominate their employees. It are always the marketing and sales people with the biggest mouth, and the people from ICT and development, they listen, right? The engineers. Now, online, everybody is only this big, and you have to talk one-on-one. And we do a lot of silent work in working together alone. And now the inputs of the introverts, it's much bigger than in all those live brainstorms. So, yeah, that's why I like to show that book too. Now, these are 3 of the 6, but they are, I think, my 3 most important ones from the last 20 years.
Yes. And I lost the question. One moment. Is it hard to implement the 4th innovation method? You said a lot about innovation in startups and small companies on small ecosystem, but is it possible to apply to big companies or companies that are multiple places in the world, for example?
Yes. So, you know, it shows that the 4th innovation methodology is used by the United Nations to innovate a refugee camp in Africa. It's used by a big company like NEC from Japan with more than 100,000 people. Or it's used by the national telecom company in Japan with 300,000 people. Because they are, you know, they are too bureaucratic. And 4th, you know, just give them, but it's also used by a hospital in Australia. Or it's used by just a very successful by a mid-segment company with 250 people in making concrete. So I'm now helping to innovate a big chemical company all over the world. So we did it in Europe, we did it in Shanghai, now I do it in Houston, help different divisions work. And you know the interesting part is, mixed and merged, right, in Brazil. I found it so interesting. So you are really such a mix of cultures, and it works everywhere, only the way you do
Ele caiu. É, ele caiu. Pera.
Here I am again.
Yes, we're back. We're back.
We're back. That's good. That's good. So in Brazil, you know everything about different cultures. And, you know, the steps are everywhere the same. It's translated in 9 languages, exactly the same methodology. Only the way you implement it in Japan is cultural difference than when you innovated in Oman, or when you innovated in Brazil, or when you innovated in South Africa, right? But that's the people factor which automatically work. And yeah, so it works so Ford works in every company, organization. But if you like to do it for your startup, do it with the innovation maze and use here the idea route. So this is for startups. Use the innovation maze, and then use the 10 steps. And because a very important part of Ford in a big company is getting the management buy-in, because the management is so conservative. And in a big company, your competition is not outside, your competition is inside. Because there are 25 or 50 or 150 other innovation projects who also ask money, who also ask people, right? So your competition is there internally. As startup, you can focus, right? You can focus 100% on your time. And of course, the buy-in has to be both from financiers, then from partners building up the value chain, right? So that's a different type. That's why the innovation maze I really recommend for startup. Although I must say, I love lean startup. Lean startup is perfect. My only thing is, I would never do only one lean startup. That's what I see, because the number of ideas which are successful, you can count on one hand when you have 100. And when you pivot too long, you lose momentum and passion and belief. So I would never work on one idea. I would always have 3 lean startup parallel, right? And you pivot them all, but I'm sure that one will be better than the other 2. And this is what I will do. I think lean startup in itself focus a bit too much. I will do at least 3 at the same time, or even 5, when the challenge is big enough and your team is big enough. And that will be a very practical tip to people who are using this great book and this great methodology. So in here, in online innovation, we also describe how you can do lean startup online, with steps and all and with the tricks and the tools, and also the online tool. We wrote 1 chapter on lean startup because I really think it's has been proven very effective, and it also works online perfect.
Well, I have just one last question for you, because I know your time is a little bit limited, but you're from the Netherlands, but you live in Greece. Why?
Yes, I will tell you. It's a happy story and a sad story, but a little drama is part of life. Why? Because I got married for a second time with a Dutch woman, and her dream was to live on Crete. So I said, okay, let's do it. So I just innovated myself at the age of 60. I just stopped my companies in the Netherlands. I sold my houses and I bought here on Crete a house. And within 3 months, we lived on Crete. And that's what you do, right? So
Yes.
that was a real pivot in my life. Only the sad news is that she and I divorced after 1.5 years. That's the drama. But anyway, I'm still living here on Crete. I really enjoyed being here on Crete, living in the now. I'm living now a very simple rural life. And I'm really glad that the internet is still working here, because it's the bits and bytes are carried by donkeys up the mountains here and over the mountains still. So the internet is really bad, but the quality of life is really good. So follow always your love and follow your passion. Also in business, it will bring you the furthest, because it's passion which is an endless battery. And that's also for your startup. It's great to make a business case. It's great to make a sales pitch, but listen to your gut feel and follow that.
That's right. Well, thank you for joining us and at this time, at this interview, at this talk. Please, looking forward to, please come to Brazil. Let's meet in person. Let's create another project. Translate your books to Portuguese. And please, you're more than welcome to come back to another season of the Usina Talks. And please tell everyone where they can find you and your social media.
Yes, well, it's just my name, but you cannot pronounce my name. Just look on Instagram how you spell it, and connect to me on LinkedIn or on Facebook or on Instagram. And yes, we can travel again now, and I would love to come to Brazil to inspire you all and to make you all better innovators. Now, thank you so much for the great questions. Thank you so much for your openness too. And what is the name of your dog?
Milo.
Mile. And give Mile an extra hug tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye-bye. Ciao. Bye-bye.